Is this still being used?
Yes, they are. Matter of fact, I have some textbooks in my office that I could take down off my shelf, open them up, and show you basic Haeckel drawings and show you how the caption says that embryology supports evolution.
Even today, we're feeding our kids this baloney.
Correct.
What other assumptions did Darwin make? Didn't he sort of believe that he would find a lot of fossils that never did turn up?
Yes, he did. Darwin understood that if the theory of evolution was correct, if the theory he was proposing was correct, then there was going to be a transitional link between all the fossils. In other words, as things went from more simple to more complex, these transitional fossils would exist. The gaps would be filled. He believed that the problem was that the fossil record or the geological record was imperfect. They hadn't done enough fossil digging and they hadn't discovered enough fossils. We now know that the fossil record is just about complete, and the gaps still exist. This is one of paleontology's biggest secrets.
Now, paleontology is the study of old stuff,
right?
Old junk in the ground,
right?
Or you know what I say,
right.
You know, today it's sort of other ages garbage,
right?
Stuff that died.
Paleo means study of old things.
Yeah, old things. One of its biggest problems is that it didn't find these links.
It didn't find these fossil links. The fossil links do not exist. Darwin said that the fossil links did not exist. He understood they did not exist. He said that they would be found out later. We now are at the later time period, you know, and they still haven't been found.
And he did really assert that his validity for the whole theory was based on eventually finding these links.
Yes. Yes.
And they weren't found.
They haven't been found.
So this is part of his joke.
Yes, and scientists are really at the point in time where many of them are saying we're never going to find them.
They've got to create another way to explain the universe without Darwin.
Right.
They explain it without God. Now they got to explain it without Darwin. Very interesting process. Let's talk about the genetic science. Didn't he not know too much about genetics and therefore rejected it?
Well, Darwin did some studies, some genetic studies, but he did some genetic studies among species without going outside of the species. In order for evolution to work, there has to be changes within genera or genuses. Genus has to change. In other words, we have to have changes beyond the species level. Things have to change in a big way. They don't do that. The studies of Mendel, for example. Mendel, back in the 1800s. He was a contemporary of Darwin. Mm-hmm. His work was suppressed because it did not agree with evolutionary philosophy. Now, what Mendel discovered was that if you take a red pea flower and a white pea flower, and you cross them, you will get a pink pea flower or a white pea flower or a red pea flower or certain ratios. He discovered that things change, but then there's a limit to how much they can change. So he discovered that there is a boundary to how much change can take place.
So there's variety within a specific species of the plant, a pea, a piece of corn or whatever. There's a variety you get within it, but like in animals, a dog isn't going to turn into a mouse.
Nope.
And the cat's not going to become a pig.
Nope.
And this just never was observed. And there are genetic laws about why.
Right. And as a matter of fact, if you get near the genetic boundary that nature or God imposes, sterilization takes place. In other words, you take a stallion and you mate the stallion to a donkey, you get a mule. Now, a mule is sterile.
These kinds of true scientists that really formulated their ideas based on hard evidence, in other words, studying very carefully what's there in reality. Mm-hmm. Like Mendel, he would confirm exactly what is in Genesis 1 about the nature of biological life, that it's all made after its kind, correct? Yeah. As opposed to evolution, which says that things aren't made after their kind. It's just given enough time, it will all change into whatever. A slime 4 billion years ago will turn into a human being at the end of the life form because of survival of the fittest. When, look, slime to me, it always dies. It never turns into a human being.
Well, the thing you have to remember, and you hit on a very good point here, and something that let me kind of talk about this a little bit. The scriptures say that in the book of Genesis, in chapter 1, the creation week, that kind brings forth kind.
Right.
The sea creatures brought forth sea creatures. The flying creatures brought forth flying creatures. Things reproduced after themselves. Mendel and his laws of genetics, formulated in 1860, said that pea flowers, bring forth pea flowers. So kind brings forth kind. Darwin said that things can bring forth other things besides their kind given enough time. So Darwin was violating the law of Mendel and Mendel's Mendel's laws about heredity. The scriptures in Genesis chapter 1 are in complete agreement with him. So science agrees with the first book of Genesis.
The hard science,
yes.
observable science,
yes.
Not the science of evolution that really is a form of a faith in a religion.
That's a philosophy. I like to term it a philosophy or a faith. But you're correct. It's science. Evolutionary science is not based on hard fact. If evolutionary science was based on hard fact, they would have to admit that there is no change in other than small variety changes, and that the dog can never become a cat, and the cat can never become a hippopotamus.
We have a wonderful publication called Creation or Evolution. Does it really matter what you believe? And what are you going to base your belief on? Facts or fictions? The facts are in the ground, in the nature of biology and the universe you see, that evolution cannot be supported at all with intellectual honesty. But why can you say that? Well, this publication makes it very clear in an easy-to-read way. This is for intelligent folks that have a 7th grade education and up. But it's not really that hard to grasp. The case against evolution, the many simple principles now that are scientifically being raised that prove that it is a flawed and essentially wrong doctrine. What does the fossil record show? The nature of the human body cannot be explained by evolution. The miracle of the eye, blood clotting, the biological mineral, the problems with the faked moths. It's a fascinating story. Those moths that you learn in biology in high school, they were pinned to the tree, and they actually disproved the theory of evolution. It is now apparent. Animal oddities that defy evolution, aspects of the nature of the universe, and the kind of choices, once you learn the facts, that you've got to make about what you're going to believe. It's all in here free of charge. Do also ask for your free subscription to the Good News, which deals with these kinds of issues all the time that are both personal and general. This issue dealt with after Iraq, what next, the global trends associated with the global problem of terrorism. Just simply call the 800 number, and also you can go online to tomorrowonline.org, where you could actually see this television program, or you can order the literature